In this video, we're going to take a look at our first lesson for Unit 6. Our unit is on measurement and geometry. And we're going to start by just learning some terminology and talking about the properties of angles. So our learning goal, we want to learn the terminology associated with angles in two-dimensional shapes. We will also learn about angle properties relating to triangles. And we will know we've been successful when we can define and give examples for given shapes and angles, and when we can correctly solve for unknown angles. We're going to start with some terminology. So let's learn about terms, definitions, and we'll include a little sketch to help describe what's going on. The first thing we want to describe is diagonal. What does it mean for something to be a diagonal? A diagonal occurs when we have a line connecting two opposite vertices. Vertices is the plural of the word vertex, and vertex just means a corner. It's a place where two lines meet. So if we have a shape like this, each corner is a vertex. And if we connect two opposite vertices, we have formed a diagonal. Our next term, equilateral triangle. This is a triangle with three equal sides and angles. That's going to look something like this. So each side has the same length and each angle is the same. So all these measures here are the same and all these side lengths here are the same. Isosceles triangle, a triangle with two equal sides and angles. So two sides are going to be the same and have the same angle, but the other one's going to be different. So that's going to look something like this. So notice the bottom is much smaller, or we could also draw it sideways. The orientation doesn't really matter. Each of these is an isosceles triangle. All right, a kite. A kite is a quadrilateral with two pairs of equal adjacent sides. And so basically, it looks like a kite, like you would fly in the sky. So it's going to look something like this. And there's two different pairs. So adjacent means next to. These two sides are next to each other and they have the same length. And these two sides are next to each other and they have a same length that's different than the length up here. Midpoint is a point halfway along a line, or usually we're actually talking about line segments. So if I connect 2 points, like on a graph or something, the point in between right here is called our midpoint. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral with two pairs of opposite parallel sides. So lateral means like side, quad means four. So we're just talking about four-sided shapes. That's all that quadrilateral means. Two pairs of, so the sides need to be opposite and parallel. So these are opposite each other and they are parallel, and these are opposite each other and are parallel. So this is an example of a parallelogram. Four sides, one pair of opposite parallel lines, and another pair of opposite parallel lines. Next, we have a rectangle. So a rectangle is just a specific case of a parallelogram. So all rectangles are parallelograms, and we know what a rectangle looks like. It looks like this. And the difference between our rectangle and our parallelogram is that all the corners, all the lines meet at 90 degrees, or in other words, they are perpendicular to each other, which we've talked about before. All right, a rhombus is a parallelogram with all side lengths equal. And there's no requirement that they meet at 90 degrees, so usually we'll draw a rhombus like this. A trapezoid is a quadrilateral with one set of parallel lines. So that's going to look something like this. So here's our first set of parallel lines, but then on the sides, these are not parallel to each other. An acute angle is an angle between 0 and 90 degrees. So an acute angle is going to look like this. We draw that sometimes just to indicate that it's an angle, or something like this. Anything that is less than 90 degrees. On the other hand, an obtuse angle is an angle between 90 and 180 degrees. So that would be like we have our starting position here and our other arm is over here. So the 90-degree point is here. We've rotated past that. Similarly here, 90 degrees would be here, but our angle is much greater. So between 90 and 180 degrees, And finally, just to round things out, we've talked about this before, but a right angle is an angle that does have a measure of 90 degrees. And of course, we represent that with like the little box there, and that represents 90 degrees.